Bring in Brent Thill. Brent doesn't cover Apple, but covers most of the rest of the mega caps. And Brent, interested to know which of the mega caps that you cover you think has the most upside next year.
Yeah, we like Amazon into next year. There's been 2 number cuts. Clearly, a lot of investments pulled forward as it relates to delivery and logistics this year. So hopefully they can take advantage of those investments in 22 and get some better leverage. We think short term there's still some overhangs on the expense base, but we think Amazon will have a better year. We still like where Facebook sits as well, especially as we've seen the Oculus do very well. They're showing that they can get into new businesses beyond just the core and showing levels of innovation. I know a number of kids that have been fighting over the Oculus in my house. So that's a good sign for them on the VR side.
Your price targets for Amazon 4,000, Facebook 420, sort of 20% upside for each of those. Also about 20% upside to your Alphabet price target of 3,500, which is building on a pretty strong year this year as well.
Yeah, Google had a phenomenal year. As we say, embrace the oddness of Google. Google does very well in odd years, tends to consolidate those gains in even years. So the one thing we would just note is it's highly unlikely for Google to repeat the phenomenal performance they had this year in 22. That being said, we do believe Google is in a great spot. A number of their emerging businesses will start to show more results with Waymo. Google Cloud is really the third in line behind Amazon and Microsoft, but has done a really nice job in this multi-cloud world. We're seeing large corporations embrace too, as well as you have a call option on Verily and the healthcare side, and of course search remains really good for Google. I just don't think it's going to be as good a 22 as it was for 21 for the stock. The last decade you've seen underperformance in these even years, and again, don't blame the messenger, but it has been a tough even year. Again, the odd years have been much kinder to Google.
Outside the FANG names, Brent, what about software stocks and cloud names in particular, which underperformed, disappointed people this year?
Yeah, I think you have a COVID hangover, right? You have this consumption trend that, you saw Microsoft CEO sell stock. You've seen Snowflake's executives sell stock. I mean, these stocks had a big move, and you've had a huge pull forward of demand inside enterprises due to COVID. So I think it's going to be more of a year of digestion in 22 as we come back to more normal. I think the fundamental dynamics of the backdrop of the software industry are phenomenal, and we still really like Microsoft, Intuit, CRM, and Adobe are 4 pillars of our franchise that we like. So we're sticking with those names. We think that, again, they'll be grinders. They're not fly highers. Microsoft had a phenomenal year, but we don't expect that type of performance as we go into 22.
Brent, for all of those 4 mega caps that we've just discussed with you, how often are you reassessing whether the multiples that they all have could just collapse overnight or over the course of the next year? Are they vulnerable, or do you think very safe?
I think short term they've been safer. You've seen a lot of money move out of small and mid into large. I think you've seen defensible business models, especially around Microsoft, right? With the cloud business, once you go to the cloud, you don't take your data out. So we don't think there's a collapse in multiples. We think that there is some headwinds to multiples, given such a strong tailwind. The last few years we've had massive outperformance driven not only on the numbers, but more on the multiple. And so I don't believe the multiples have a lot more room to go on the up. But I also don't think they're going to see a collapse given how good the demand environment is. And given, the recent COVID scare we're all going through right now, and lots of holiday plans have been canceled on the West Coast here because of this, we are going to stay in a digital world for quite some time. We're not going back. So I think you're just dealing with a little post-COVID hangover. That'll certainly have maybe some weight on multiples as we go into the beginning next year. But I don't think you're going to see a collapse in tech multiples in the mega caps. In some of these other names, absolutely, you're seeing stocks at 30 to 50 times revenue from some of the software companies, Snowflake, Asana, Datadog. Those ones you worry more about multiple compression than the large mega caps.
Yeah, on the Fed moves as well. Brent, thank you for joining us.